Mass surveillance in the United States. This interview is about the different surveillance programs and electronic surveillance projects, as well as the deeper implications for my martial arts challenge and political movements and so on. A top secret document leaked by Edward Snowden to The Guardian in 2013, originally due to be declassified on 12 April 2038. Boundless Informant, a system deployed by the National Security Agency to analyze global electronic information. In March 2013, Boundless Informant gathered 14 billion data reports from Iran, 6.3 billion from India, and 2.8 billion from the United States. Bull Run, a highly classified U.S. National Security Agency program to preserve its ability to eavesdrop on encrypted communications by influencing and weakening encryption standards, by obtaining master encryption keys, and by gaining access to data before or after it is encrypted either by agreement, by force of law, or by computer network exploitation, hacking. Carnivore, a system implemented by the Federal Bureau of Investigation that was designed to monitor email and electronic communications, apparently replaced by commercial software such as Noru Insight. Comprehensive National Cybersecurity Initiative, DCSNet, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI's point-and-click surveillance system that can perform instant wiretaps on any telecommunications device located in the United States. Think about the deeper implications as I'm reading these. Fairview, a mass surveillance program directed at foreign mobile phone users. Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, a bureau of the Department of the Treasury that collects and analyzes financial transactions in order to combat financial crimes. IC-Reach, surveillance front-end GUI that is shared with 23 government agencies, including the CIA, DEA, and FBI, to search illegally collected personal records. Magic Lantern, a keystroke logging software. It records every key you strike. Deployed by the FBI in the form of an email attachment. When activated, it acts as a Trojan horse and allows the FBI to decrypt user communications. This implies a working relationship with antivirus companies and using hacking to reduce the number of virus definitions your antivirus software has. Main Core, a personal and financial database storing information of millions of U.S. citizens believed to be threats to national security. The data mostly comes from the NSA, FBI, CIA, as well as other government sources. Mainway, NSA database containing metadata for hundreds of billions of telephone calls made through the 4 largest telephone carriers in the United States. Another relationship with the corporate private sector. Muscular, oversees wiretapping of Google's and Yahoo's encrypted internal networks by the NSA. Before I was on YouTube, which is now owned by Google, I was speaking about these things on Yahoo. Mystic is a voice interception program used by the National Security Agency. Nationwide Suspicious Activity Reporting Initiative. Under this government initiative, a suspicious activity report may be filed by law enforcement or law enforcers, public safety personnel, owners of critical infrastructure, or the general public. And of course, you have Citizens Corps and other groups who have been caught gang stalking, using this pretext to harass whistleblowers and political dissidents who basically pose a threat to the status quo that maintains the nation, therefore national security. NSA Ant Catalog, a 50-page document listing technology available to the United States National Security Agency Ant Division to aid in cyber surveillance. PRISM, a clandestine national security electronic surveillance program operated by the United States National Security Agency, which can target customers of participating corporations outside or inside the United States. Room 641A, a telecommunication interception facility operated by AT&T for the U.S. National Security Agency. Sentry Eagle, efforts to monitor and attack an adversary's cyberspace through capabilities including SIGINT, computer network exploitation, information assurance, computer network defense, network warfare, and computer network attack. The efforts include weakening U.S. commercial encryption systems, special collection service, a black budget program that is responsible for close surveillance, burglary, wiretapping, breaking and entering. Yes, they do steal things from your home and put them back later to pretend you're crazy. They do steal other things. They do plant wires and pin-sized cameras and more. It employs covert listening device technologies to bug foreign embassies, communication centers, computer facilities, fiber optic networks, and government installations, as well as the civilian population, obviously. Stellar Wind, the open secret code name for 4 surveillance programs, tailored access operations, intelligence gathering unit of the NSA that is capable of harvesting approximately 2 petabytes of data per hour. Terrorist Finance Tracking Program, a joint initiative run by the CIA and the Department of the Treasury to access the SWIFT, Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication transaction database is part of the Bush administration's global war on terrorism. According to the U.S. government, its efforts to counter terrorist activities were compromised after the existence of the Terrorist Finance Tracking Program was leaked to the media. So all these programs, using that same logic, are somewhat outdated, and they have more effective ones. They consider the specific circumstances of the time that we're living in compared to, say, 4 or 5 years ago. Turbulence. Turbulence is a United States National Security Agency information technology project started circa 2005. It was developed in small, inexpensive test pieces rather than one grand plan, like its failed predecessor, the Trailblazer Project. Notice the name Trailblazer. It implies that this is the beginning, and we're going to build on that. We're going to update the trail. We're going to put infrastructure. We're going to use it more effectively. This is the Trailblazer. Like MKUltra, in many ways, was somewhat of a trailblazer, although I'm sure they had programs like it before World War II and World War I. It also includes offensive cyber warfare capabilities like injecting malware into remote computers. The U.S. Congress criticized the project in 2007 for having similar bureaucratic problems as the Trailblazer Project. U.S. Intelligence Community, a cooperative federation of 16 government agencies working together but also separately to gather intelligence and conduct espionage. Part of doing espionage is spying on martial artists and learning their techniques and figuring out how you can sabotage them and put people who propagate despicable falsehoods in positions of power, respect, and notice, where people are going to see them and listen to them, put them in the spotlight. Utah Data Center, the intelligence community's $1.5 billion data storage center that is designed to store extremely large amounts of data on the scale of yottabytes. X-Keyscore, a system used by the United States National Security Agency for searching and analyzing internet data about foreign nationals. Now I'm going to get into the interview, and I think you would be a fool not to see how this is applied against me and any other political dissident. Their wish to sabotage what they're doing, to punish them for their whistleblowing or dissent. But if they're doing things in the specific way that I'm doing it, and no one can beat them, well then, the easy, cheap way to discredit someone like me is to prove them wrong, which they can't. They can't prove my key points wrong. I use valid sources, and Wikipedia only when I check the sources. And they can't beat me at the most traditional, effective form of martial arts, and we'll explore that later in the interview. Without further ado. They're used to push these people's agenda. They're not so much concerned with terrorism as control and power and appearance. You know, I was telling you the other day about Freemasons and how they want people who are in good standing, who believe in God, so they can break down society using the intellectuals and the people who have maintained appearances and understand the importance of maintaining appearances, especially to those who are criminals. All right, so Turbulence. Turbulence is a United States National Security Agency information technology project started circa 2005. It was developed in small, inexpensive test pieces rather than one grand plan like its failed predecessor, the Trailblazer project. It also includes offensive cyber warfare capabilities like injecting malware into remote computers. The U.S. Congress criticized the project in 2007 for having similar bureaucratic problems as the Trailblazer project. U.S. intelligence community, IC, a cooperative federation of 16 government agencies working together but also separately to gather intelligence and conduct espionage. Utah Data Center, the intelligence community's U.S. $1.5 billion data storage center that is designed to store extremely large amounts of data on the scale of yottabytes. X-Keyscore, a system used by the United States National Security Agency for searching and analyzing internet data about foreign nationals. So, basically, when they're prioritizing the storage of data, they use it on people like me, but they're trying to get it on all Americans. But they're saying, look, we want to have everything this person has ever said from when he first went on AOL, back in the 90s, to when he dies. Okay? That way we can get a feel for who this person is, what makes him tick, what he likes. That way we can use our MKUltra project now, more effectively. Now, when you look at this thing, right, it also gives a glimpse into how they think, right? The Trailblazer project failed, and so they moved on to Project Turbulence, right? Just like MKUltra in many ways failed. They went back to the drawing board, and they, came up with the gang stalking stuff, the next level of it. You follow me?
Yeah.
So when you look at the facts, okay, the leaks, the government didn't say Snowden is lying. They said he's a traitor and all the information is accurate. Okay? So you're forced to the conclusion that the private sector on record is working with these people, and Snowden worked with the telecommunication kind of people, not the pharmaceutical people. So he's exposing their relationship with the banking sector and the, tech sector. You follow me?
Who did? What's his name?
Edward Snowden.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's the guy who went on the run. He fled to Russia and all this stuff, and
Oh. So he exposed the relationship between the bankers and who?
Mostly the relationship between the tech sector, the computer companies, and the telecommunications and, cell phones and social media and so on, Google, Yahoo, and what have you, okay, and the government. However, some of these companies have done a little bit to try to resist. They file lawsuits against the government. Some of them have resisted a little bit in vain, but this stuff talks about breaking and entering, the black budget, wiretapping, burglary. I mean, these people, you know, I mean, it goes so much deeper than this. The government stops at nothing to win the war on terror. And anyone who's been paying attention to the news knows that. They say, look, we are going out of we're doing everything in our power. What do you think is in their power to do? They're raping, they're killing, they're kidnapping, they're coercing, they're wiretapping, they're robbing, they're intimidating, you know, they're harassing, they're stalking, they're doing everything in their power to make it so that Masonic philosophies rule the day. Okay? That doesn't just include going after the terrorists. It's anyone who makes them look bad, you know, anyone who has a philosophy that is adverse to theirs. The war on terror is their priceless excuse to attack all non-Masonic philosophies and all uncontrolled groups. Anybody who doesn't have a relationship with the government, directly or in a roundabout fashion, or is not doing things in a way that is helping them and is politically active, is a target. No exceptions. Doesn't matter if you're a Christian, Muslim, Jew, they don't care about that.
No, I know. If
you put your foot down and say, I'm a man of God, and I'm not going to fucking collaborate with a bunch of scum, then you are targeted. They prioritize gathering your information. Every phone call, every email, every comment. They know all your passwords. They have keyloggers in all your computers. Anytime they want, they can shut down shop, kill you, take down all your videos, except for the ones that make you look crazy. And it's a wrap. The only protection one has is to get out his message as much as he can before he dies. But they also know that that's a logical conclusion to come to, right? It doesn't take a genius to say, look, someone who's been targeted by us is going to want to get the message out, like in Will Smith, Enemy of the State, right? They're going to be desperate to get the message out. Like that one guy who slipped the thing into his bag, you know, at the beginning of the movie. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So what we have to do is we have to plant people in his life to make him think that his information is safe, that his message is going to get out. You know? Get him to compromise to some liberal bitch agenda. Get him to compromise with gays and all the New World Order scum, you know? And then when we shut him down, he'll have no recourse, legal or otherwise. He'll have no means to expose us. We'll shut him down almost as if he never existed. You follow me? That's why when I see that I expose gang stalking more effectively than everyone. So why don't people prioritize getting my message out? Because almost every person who claims to be a target is actually a gang stalker. And the very few people who aren't are bombarded with so much nonsense that they can't see the real deal, even though it's in their face. You know? And I offer people $50 to show up. $4,000 if they can beat me. I know that I'm the top martial artist. I know that these people are trying to control information in the information age. They're trying to gather information. They don't just, it's part of the propaganda. Gather information, control information. They don't want somebody to become the most respected American and expose the information they don't want people to know. You follow me?
Yeah.
Imagine if Edward Snowden, instead of leaking this shit to the public, he was making videos on YouTube like I am, right? Instead of the newspaper coming to him, right? Instead he starts making YouTube videos. And imagine if he was the top martial artist instead of me. What do you think they would be doing to him? If not exactly what they're doing to me to a T. Alright, so I'm back. So yeah, here I am hungry for challenges, right? Paying them $50 just to show. Okay? And I'm hearing such weak excuses from pussies. Look, they're a bunch of cowards who have vested interest with the government to silence me. Because I don't just make America look bad. I make the people behind it look bad. The globalists from around the world look bad. There are people from around the world involved in my targeting. Because the war on effort is global. And the people who share these Masonic philosophies are from all over the world. There's 6 million Freemasons alone in the world, 2 million of them in America, over 2 million, not to mention their allies. You know, there's over 200 registered secret societies in America. You know, so yeah, let's put things in perspective. When I had a group, right, it didn't have 200 people. We had like 9, 10 people in it, and almost all of them were gang stalkers. You know, it was my little experiment to see exactly who they would send, and it reflects, you know, what they see, what they think of me. You know, they sent the types of people.
So, can I just ask you? You don't have to tell me this because obviously everything is being listened to. But it's, you know what I just can't get my head around is that there's no one you can trust. Everybody's probably got an agenda in trying to extract information out of you, and just like you say, try to make you compromise with liberal views. I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know, this is insane. I mean, the more I hear about this stuff now, the whole surveillance thing's come into it now. I mean, obviously that we knew about that, but not to that degree that you've explained. You know, it affects the security systems you have in your home. I know to some degree that I know that mobile phones are tapped. And you know, you said to me that you get covert messaging. You know, sometimes I say things when, let's say, for example, I've noticed things ever since I've been talking to you. I've never noticed them before. I've spoken to people before, like family members or, you know, someone, you know, my brother lives in Belgium. So I've spoken to him, let's say, what was it, WhatsApp or something like that. And it kind of has the same signaling problems. There's a lot of problems with WeChat. I think that's a Chinese company. Those kinds of companies, their signals are really poor. Just like it is with Hangouts, there seems to be an issue with the signals. However, I have noticed a distinction between the two. And the distinction I noticed was with WeChat, let's say, for example, you can't hear the person. It doesn't go into a mode where you feel like the person is there, but the words are being distorted. Does that make sense? So this is an interesting experiment, by the way, because I don't know if you've ever done this one, is that when I've spoken, like I said, when I spoke to my brother and his girlfriend, whenever I spoke to them, it didn't come across as it does when sometimes I'm talking to you. When I'm talking to you, it's like there's somebody else listening in and trying to say something. Yes. And I have heard 2 words that didn't make any sense, but I can't even remember for the life of me what they were. And I found that it was scary. One of them was really frightening, but I just completely ignored it. This was like 2 weeks ago or something. Oh, yeah. I never actually thought, I thought maybe it's to do with the microphone. You know, sometimes, you know, you have signaling problems and so on. But then I thought, why didn't that happen on WeChat? Why hasn't that happened on, let's say, WhatsApp? Well, yeah. You know, I'm talking about somebody else, not you. I'm talking about somebody else. Because my brother's in Belgium, the signal breaks down. WeChat signal's really bad. It's worse than Hangouts. And trust me, you have to keep reconnecting, and it's just a shit service. Only last night you can barely get a word in edgeways before it sort of cuts off. But what I did notice is that the signal that you get from WeChat, if you don't connect, if you can't hear each other, or one of you can hear, there's no kind of covert messages going on, or, you know, the voice being distorted in any way or shape or form. which I found really odd. But on Hangouts, ever since I've been talking to you, initially the first 2 or 3 weeks, I didn't notice it. As the weeks progressed, I noticed that we were talking, it was like, you know, it was like somebody else was like trying to say something. And what you were saying was coming across as not disingenuous. It almost like you were saying something else at some points.
Well, I don't know. You know, they do have...
Every time I spoke to you, I felt drowsy. There was like a week or 2 weeks, I don't know why, I felt really, really drowsy when I was talking to you, and I found that really odd.
Yeah, for me, it's mostly, you know, the drugs, the drugging. You know, these people, they already have the infrastructure in place. They already have the communications in place. You know, they watch people at the grocery store. You know, they talk to you, and they use people as well, because people say, oh, how you doing? And they'll ask you about the food, the products you buy, and, oh, you having a barbecue, you having a picnic, you know, you doing that for, you know, kind of the normal stuff, except for they tell these people to ask more questions, be more intrusive.
Here's the question, yeah. You know, when you're sedated in any shape or form, and this is including, you know, antidepressants, antipsychotics, you name it, any psych drug, yeah, you are more susceptible to revealing secrets about yourself.
Yeah, because you're more suggestible.
Okay, now listen to this bit. So you reveal secrets, and who are you revealing these secrets to? All the professionals, the medical professionals, the psychs, the doctors. Yeah, this is what they're trying to get out. So, you know, everything you've said about the pharmaceutical companies being connected, all these companies, MK Ultra, and now these skank stalkers. The thing is, it's people aren't seeing it like this, because you have to look at it from a different point of view. This is all important, but equally breaking it down to say that, you know, it's all about exposing what your intentions are. What do you know? What you follow, what your beliefs are, rather than saying, you know, when you say something as generic as Masonic philosophy or, you know, New Order and stuff like that, you know, people use, I don't even use that word Illuminati. I think that's ridiculous. But yeah, that's insignificant, to be honest. What is really going on is the fact that you are completely right about the fact that they're trying to surveillance us, but the surveillancing is not as effective as when you sedate someone. Because when you sedate someone, it's almost like you can get them to expose things about themselves that other people may not know or know, and therefore use it against them in their defense, if that makes sense.
Yes, in a lot of my older videos, I said the mind control is ineffective without drugs. You have to drug someone to put them under mind control. When someone's sober and alert, you can repeat all the messages all you want. You can do all the operant conditioning you want, but they still have a certain consciousness and a certain perceptiveness. But when you drug them...
Here's another thing. Now, let's look at the media for a minute, yeah? Because you have to target a bunch of thickos. Yeah, because the way you're talking, they're never, ever going to understand you. Because these are people who are the social media generation. They don't understand complexities. What they do understand is reality TV, famous people, you know, celebrities and all that bullshit. Now, what do we learn from reality TV and celebrities? Now, gone are the days that a movie star is a celebrity. Nowadays, a person who is a celebrity who's in a reality show, they seem to be more popular. And the reason behind that is because they're revealing their lifestyle. they are exposing themselves to the public. You get to see what their life is like. So what is this telling us about social norms? That it should be, this is the culture you should be following. Yeah, so this is what they follow. They follow a Masonic lifestyle, which is following feminism, homosexuality, atheism, all the things we went through in one of the videos I made for you. So going through all those, but using a language, a method that a normal person in today's society, which is the social media. We are not talking about people from 20 years ago where they'd read books and they try to understand things, have a more in-depth, meaning towards stuff. What you're working with is people who just use basic information and think that's everything. That's key. That's how I know I don't want to talk about what you talk about, Chuku. It's too intense. Let's talk about celebrities. Now, you could even apply it to celebrities, what you're talking about. Is that we are being brainwashed even through television. Like, for example, I've always debated the fact that why should I have Sky? Because it's Rupert Murdoch, another Jew, another corporate elitist. And I could say, right, all the programs he shows, because there was like loads of programs that I wanted to watch, and I couldn't understand why the fuck he doesn't have them. And it's a satellite TV, access to loads of channels and what he does is he's selective. Even all these networks, if you look at all the media networks like Netflix, like you said to me, this is really left wing. Do you remember I told you to watch that documentary?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you said that that's left wing. And that was based on the fact that, again, trying to instill a certain kind of think pattern. Say, oh, look, this is, we're looking at it from black people's point of view, and this is this is kind of controversial, and so on and so on. So one would think, the depths of it, they would think, oh yeah, this is touching upon, issues that we need to be looking into. But no, it's still a liberated culture.
Well, okay, several things. One, philosophy and lifestyle are absolutely connected. When they sell you their lifestyle, they're also selling you their philosophy. Do you agree?
Yes.
All right. Also, when you're looking at, we live in a society that supposedly values intellect over superstition, quote unquote, and religion over science, quote unquote, which is really, science over religion, right? So pseudoscience reigns supreme, is the pill for the day. Now, when you look at intellect and intelligence, it's very interesting because the elitists and the social engineers themselves absolutely agree with me on this, absolutely, unequivocally, that the highest level of intellect is wisdom and insight. It's even written in the Bible. In a video I'd made recently, I read the scripture from Revelation. It says the same thing. And it means basically that, the people who are aware of what is going on, right? There's probably a lot of them. There's probably about 50% of people are somewhat aware of this stuff that we've talked about. However, that is just one slice of the pie. And of the 50% who are more aware than the other 50%, the less than 1% of them who live a life of nonconformity are displaying a higher level of intelligence. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So what you see here as well is that they bombard people with stuff saying, oh, you're stupid if you do it this way, or you're not as smart as you think you are, trying to make them conform. But the people who fall for that stuff, they're not too very smart. So when they're dumbing down society, it's more than just chemicals in our food. It's psychology.
But they've already done that. They've already established dumbing down society. A lot of people are done. I mean, I personally think we could do without the internet. That they have found a platform, a media where they can, people are exploiting themselves. They don't realize that they exploit themselves. They're inviting people to have a look at their lives. Intrusion is like a big part of the government. Thing as, boundaries, having your own private life. No, it's all about what's going on in your best way to control that. That's why I don't like all these kind of phones or technology, because they all want to be linked up. You're talking about this in a very long-winded way. Just look at what I did yesterday. I haven't linked up all my accounts. And the reason behind that is because exactly the point she made today. They just connect the dots. They're right, okay, she has that account, she's got that account, she's got that account. Yeah, if I don't want to connect my Facebook with my emails, they will keep sending you, what's it called? Tags to say, oh, you haven't connected with Facebook, you haven't connected with this, you haven't connected, because they want you to know, they want to know everything that's going on in your life.
Yes, and they also want to use it in case they have to ever use it in court. That's why Facebook, at times, I don't know.
Yeah, but but if you're dumbed down, like a majority of society is, then you're following the society which is considered to be the millennia population. Yeah, because we are talking about millennials. This generation is a millennia generation where people do not care about news. It's all entertainment, about killings, people exposing the truth. Oh, this person must be insane, or this person, there's something not right about this, because he's not following it as he's not following the social norms, and therefore he's not entertaining. It's boring. We don't want to hear this.
Yeah, so
we can't digest this. How is this gonna benefit our lives? Okay, I'll tell you how. When I put that video up about you, the response I got from many people is that, I'm sorry, I find this stuff scary. That's it. That was the last nail in the coffin, to say that this stuff is too frightening to know. So what do people do? It's a dumbed down society, because people are frightened to be incriminated in some way or form by being connected to this stuff.
Yes, and all this goes back to the childish traits of the New World Order, right? That's why I talk about it. Selfishness, shallowness, materialism, conformity, cowardice, evilness, and lies. By being cowards, they've accepted evil. By being selfish and shallow, they don't want to look into this stuff. They're too worried about what will happen to them, their financial security, their physical security.
But sorry to interject, but what does religion teach us? Religion teaches us to be selfless, doesn't it?
Yep.
To be spiritual, to be, kind, to be generous, to think of others. And what does the new agenda, instill in us? That we should be selfish, we should be, we should think about ourselves. The whole purpose of being of agnostic nature or feminist is to have more self-belief. And the more self-belief you have, what does that create? Being more selfish.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, this is what this is all about. And people are blowing it out of all proportions. They're thinking, oh, no, this guy is completely out of his, trolley to say that, he doesn't like women. He's got this agenda to discriminate against women and the vulnerable, as we call it, people in society, which is completely bullshit. Because what is happening now is that, where is this going to stop? They're not vulnerable anymore. I would say the people who are religious should be considered vulnerable.
Yes, I got a lot of notes to catch up on. First of all, the Facebook ID. You were saying earlier about catching up, about them connecting everything. Facebook asks a lot of people for IDs to prove their account. Zeus get a lot of dating sites ask people to, take a camera footage of themselves to verify their pictures. They do things in a way so they have more evidence.
Oh, yeah, not to mention your thumbprints on the phone, your thumbprints on your tablet, your a video shot of your face, your eye. It doesn't stop.
All right, so I've been talking about this stuff for decades on the internet. Okay, when they look at all the data they've collected on me, going back to the early 90s, there's a abundance. And remember, that female who was the former director of the electronic surveillance project, her first book was in 92.
Yeah.
So they've been collecting data on me my whole internet life, Now, so what has happened is, since 2009, when I made my first video on YouTube, August 31st, Illuminati Part 1, Ancient Egyptian Wisdom Collected by Ancient Eurocentrics. Okay, the white factions of the New World Order, the Jews, every non-black faction was very upset, and the black faction was mad because I did it on my own without their permission, and instead of me, sharing their videos, I'm making my own. They were very, very mad about that. And they were very vocal that they were mad about that. Now, in order for me to secure my rightful place, okay, before I even get to that, I have to expose this thing in its entirety. For me to compromise means, why even bother? Because if I pretend, for example, that gays aren't a part of it, then I've set the stage for gays to be the main players in the New World Order by, exposing everyone but them. And that's not going to help society. I have to stick to my guns on everything, not change my stance on anything. Furthermore, in order for me to secure my rightful place as the top martial artist, I have to expose this thing even more, because that's what's stopping me. I mean, how can I get my rightful place and get people to understand how good I am unless I expose the drugging, unless I expose the surveillance state, unless I expose all the entities, institutions, and unscrupulous groups involved? Okay? Also, one last thing, and I'll let you finish off with some thoughts. You look at life is like the crossroads, right? On one side is selflessness, virtue, morals, fairness, sacred warfare, martial arts in its pure form. That's going on the path of light or righteousness. Then there's selfishness, which is the guilty, people who feel guilty. They feel mischievous. They're in evil states of mind. They're poker-faced matrix bitches. They live a life of conformity. Now, what's very interesting is the more selfish you are, the more independent you are, and the more you have perceived intellect. Now, you look at the sapiosexual movement, there's also another movement going on about women saying they want a guy who's independent, who's ambitious, right? Who's intellectual, who has intellect. The intellect turns them on. What they're really saying is they want a guy who's conformed and regurgitates the nonsense they learn in college to the point where people say, hey, you're smart. You're using valid sources, and what you're saying, and all this is nonsense, New World Order babble. And they want a guy who has conformed to the point where he has a lot of money. Because how do you make money in a conformist capitalist society if not extreme conformity as a result of pathetic cowardice? So they actually, let me just finish with one more thing. They actually are looking for a guy who's a big fucking baby with no heart and no courage and no conviction. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say that a lot of people who are following things on the internet in relation to Illuminati, they need to stop doing that, because that's another Masonic thing that they've implanted to make people believe, to make people personify those things, those views, so people just think, oh yeah, this is how it is. We have this information. No, it's not. It goes far more deeper than that. That is there. It's like watching an animation, isn't it? When you watch these Illuminati videos, it's like watching a cartoon. You're looking at it, it's entertaining. You're like, wow, that's great. Yeah, I understand it. That's not what the New World Order is. They had deliberately planted. Do you think they would allow those videos on YouTube? If those were actually, if they thought, oh yeah, they're going to discover things about us. No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't be allowed on YouTube or whatever channel they're on.
Whoa.
This is a deliberate.
They're full of half truths. Like, they've allowed my videos, but they suppress the views. The ones that get hundreds of thousands of views and millions of views, I know for a fact that yes, that's part of the propaganda campaign. There's some truth in there.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that with the fact when you use that word Illuminati, it is associated with entertainment.
Yes.
And I know a lot of youngsters watch it based on the fact that when you discuss this, that's why I don't like using that term. The New World Order is another new term they use quite lucidly. What they don't understand is this is far more, it's dangerous what's happening to society. It's frightening. I can't put a name on this stuff. This is insane. It's like we've allowed the psychiatrists of the world are controlling us, and they're all bloody mad. They're a bunch of mad lunatics who are trying to control us, and we're just following this system.
Yeah. And
nobody seems to be waking up and saying, hang on a minute, we shouldn't be. Why hasn't the government, if the government was so invested in our best interest, they would have actually said, right, okay, what are the best therapies for these people where they're not harmed, where there's no side effects? I know, we'll use holistic therapy. Let's use your therapy, which is martial arts or religion. That's the best therapy you could get, yes, isn't it?
Yes, you got to realize that in the ancient world or the natural world, people were not batshit crazy as they are now. They weren't as informed and misinformed as well. So people used religion and martial arts in its pure form to maintain a healthy society, mind, body, and soul. And that's what these societies were. Look at China, ancient China. China around the time of Christ. Look at Africa. Look at the Middle East. The agrarian cultures. The hunter-gatherer cultures. These people were pretty damn sane and sharp. People need to understand that in vivid detail.
You're talking about ancient history.
Yes, and there's
ancient history.
Let me finish my point.
We didn't have.
See, the point is, nowadays, people are brainwashed, and nobody's mentally healthy except for those who transcend. Everybody's in a sick state of being desensitized and dumbed down, and it's bad for them. They're eating crap. They're thinking crap, they're eating crap, their life is crap. And they look up to crappy people. Horrible, horrible people. Horrible people are the people they look up to. Complete cowards. I mean, back in ancient times, right, if you would have compared these cowards we have today who are celebrities to someone like me, people would have been laughing. How are you going to compare those pussies to the top martial artist? How are you going to compare this fucking coward, this shill, to this great man? With his mind, body, soul. I mean, these people are fucking morons. They're weaklings. They have no heart. They're not natural leaders. They're propped up by scum. But in our society, people could even conceive that I'm the best and I'm this great person, but they're still going to look up to the scum because their moral compass is broken, their understanding is off, and they just do not value the sacred traits of a divine person or of a superior form of life. Superior because of his transcendence.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm so hard on women, because they have a monopoly on reproduction, and men are pretty much disposable fools that the New World Order doesn't care about in the eyes of the New World Order. But women, unless of course they have intellectual value. Women, and then they become intellectual property. But that's a whole another story for another day. But women have a monopoly on reproduction. All they have to do is be attractive, and boom, they have value. We talk about intrinsic value, human resources. These ideas are key here. And people need to understand these things in vivid fucking detail. So yeah, what I see time and time again is that these things I've known my whole life, and I've resented my whole life, they're being forced upon us, and it's a slap in the face. The oppressor is twisting people's lens. It's like a horse. The horse used to have blinders when they had, coaches, stage coaches and stuff. They would wear blinders so they wouldn't be distracted, and they would do what You
Yeah,
know,
blinkers. Yeah, that's right.
and this is
So they couldn't look any way other than forward.
yep, and that's what's going on in our society where you
Yeah,
know
exactly.
we're
They've put covert blinkers on people, and they just seem to accept it.
and they
Nobody seemed to be nobody's looking at the bigger picture here. This isn't about let's look at it. This isn't about being a feminist. This isn't about being homosexual. This is the fact that society is being instilled with these fake misconceptions of what is considered to be normal. And it's not normal. None of this is normal.
yes, that's why psychiatry, mental health uses the term socially normative, and it goes over people's head. The difference between socially normative and actually normal, and who we really are. People really don't understand who they are, and you need to look into the spiritual realm to understand that. Our
Absolutely true. Absolutely. And that's, let's take, for example, somebody who's overweight. That could be associated with depression. But what is depression, if we think about it? It's when we actually prevent ourselves from developing. And then we think because our brain and our bodies work together. Nobody realizes that that's what depression is. Because if you're not functioning, you're not doing anything that is pushing your boundaries, you're actually going to become somewhat lazy. And your brain is saying, I need something. I need you to do some stimulus. And because they're not doing anything stimulating, they're not doing any physical activity, what do? They do the most easiest thing, which is eating.
Yes, and that's
eating and make, correct. What's the other easiest thing to do? Drinking, abusing yourself, not looking at what is good for you, what's going to nurture you, harness you as a human being. And that's what religion used to do. We have to forget about what religion can give us. Religion makes us see how we need to excel ourselves.
yes. One thing they do also is they make people feel insufficient by labeling someone mentally ill. They feel like if they believe that, right, then they put themselves willingly under your control. The same thing with eating, right? When somebody is being convinced to eat, they haven't been told, hey, eat right now. They haven't been told directly. They've been kind of subtly influenced to be sad and eat. Now they're like a bigger person looking for social acceptance, the same way that person who's labeled mentally ill is looking for social acceptance, or that immigrant. Okay? Now that's...
but it's known for people who've got who overeat. That's also a submission to having depression, because you don't know how to release or have an outlet. So what do? You resort to the most accessible thing. That's what human beings do. In the past, you'd go to a church, you would consult with somebody. Oh, I feel frustrated, I don't know what. Now you don't have anybody like that. Because nobody wants to know. Nobody's interested. When you go to churches, again, most churches are manipulated with materialism. We're not talking about churches aren't what they used to be, or mosques or other places for that matter. It's very, very rare. There are exceptions. There are exceptions to some churches and some mosques and some synagogues where people are genuinely, caring and affectionate. But those are far and few between.
Yes, and a lot of these messages we get from people, these people are part of the New World Order, on different levels. Some of them aren't very well off, but they're still playing their part for whatever financial incentives, whatever, giving crumbs. And they'll say things, going back to my martial arts challenge, right? People don't even understand what martial arts are. Even with a lot of the older movies, they make it clear, like the Karate Kid, even with the movies working to teach people what they are. Because people watch the movies, right? They don't read, they don't look this stuff up, but the movies have made it clear, look, these are combat arts. How many Asian movies are there with kung fu guys cutting people's heads off, pulling out weapons in, bars and going to war everywhere and anywhere, and right there, boom, you have to bust out with your transferable skills. No stretching, no bitch shit, no rolling on the ground like the UFC, just straight warfare, kill or be killed. That's what martial arts were. It's what they always were. And people even don't get that. After all these years of the media breaking it down for them, All it took was a few years of USC ninnies, and now they're all confused about what martial arts really are and how they're supposed to be used and the importance of mental and spiritual conditioning. And I have complete morons telling me that sparring isn't fair every single day. That's how far from the truth people have come. Now, there's also a racial component. Some people's races tend to be shorter, and they think that height is the determinant, because people don't understand what warfare really means, what martial arts are. Mars was a being, okay? When you are a powerful being, you don't make excuses. Either you're more powerful than the next person or you're not. It's the same thing with martial arts. Either you can...
Sparring, I was under the belief that sparring is an equal and fair way of understanding each other's martial arts skills. And height has nothing to do with it. Even if you look at their schools of martial arts, do they have a certain criteria when it comes to height? They'll say, oh yeah, no, sorry, you're 6'6" and you're, 5'4". Sorry, you can't, you carry out combat together. This is ridiculous.
Exactly, it's stupid, and I'm not even anywhere near close to the tallest guy in America. And the last challenger, obviously, I beat him flawlessly. He was taller than I am. Now, when you look at this thing, it's like, when it comes to body types, every body type has advantages and disadvantages. A shorter person is a smaller target, and he's probably quicker on his feet. That's going back to basketball. And these people, right, if you are better than them at something, they will stop at nothing. They will stop at nothing to pretend that you don't deserve that place. If you're not in one of their coward societies or groups, they will stop at nothing. And that goes back to this groupthink, social norm bullshit, where you have to have New World Order brainwashed pawns sticking up for you to get any credit at all. And he who has the most idiots and most corporations backing him, gets the credit, not he who is the most deserving. So even when they talk about a meritocracy or technocracy, technical skills and merit giving people positions in society, it has nothing to do with your skills. It has everything to do with perceived skills, and you achieve perceived skills by getting more people on your side. It is absolute idiot hypocrisy, and nobody who's a true martial artist would ever, not even for one moment, hide behind mainstream misconceptions. Martial arts is truth, like the scripture is truth. On the battlefield, there is no crying about height. There is no saying, well, I would beat him at a UFC match. You're bleeding on the ground, dying, because you hid behind mainstream misconceptions instead of living truth and morality, you fucking coward. You see what I'm saying?
No, I understand. No, but you've been doing this for years. I've just, been introduced to this recently. So I'm just saying that it just seems very unjustified that, nobody is willing to challenge you, on a fair level. And there's no relevance to height here. The fact that you're using sparring is the most martial arts technique, I would say, and I don't understand where these people are coming from. I think they're just, brainwashed with all these things, these movies they've seen, that they think that that's what to expect,
Well, I'll tell you right now, martial arts is another set of religious movements that is infiltrated by Masonry. Masonry picks up people who are religious, indoctrinates them with corporate philosophies, and sends them back out to be social controllers. That's all it is. They use philosophy, science, and they use trickery and treachery to twist people's, perceptions of life and spirituality and religion. And they have prioritized religious institutions and martial arts movements because those are the places where you're going to find the most stiff competition. I mean, who's going to oppose these people? The average fucking coward? Of course not. The average person doesn't even understand honor. Who teaches honor? The military? What? Their idea of honor is drone striking women and kids in a third world, in an underdeveloped nation. That's what they consider honor. What? They're teaching honor? No. No one's teaching honor but the few martial artists who still maintain sacred morality, and we are a dying fucking breed. And we are so much...
Well, I would say that those that are the loudest in their threats are the weakest in their actions.
Yeah, and these people resort to trying to coerce, and they drug. They've messed up my respiratory system. What they're doing is similar to, gassing somebody every day for 20 years and then saying, hey, instead of having the traditional match, let's do a triathlon and see who wins. And they'll say a triathlon is fair, and they'll get all their bootlicking cowards to agree. They'll find a bunch of corporate martial artists, who are famous on TV to agree with them. Yeah, I agree. A bunch of UFC ninnies and other sellouts to say, oh, that's right. And they think that means that, all the experts are in agreement. There's a consensus in the martial arts community. I mean, it's that kind of nonsense. These people are fucking cowards. Martial artists don't side with the corporate elite. Martial artists don't help any nation oppress anyone. You look at the Shaolin Temple. They were at odds with the Chinese government more often than not because they did not want to train their troops. They did not want to fight their wars. They did not want to help them make other people conform. They wanted to be left alone and be spiritual and train combat arts. That is the way of the martial arts. That's why in the book Fighting for Honor, he talks about martial ways. You aren't a martial artist if you don't have martial ways. And every martial art has a code, accompanying moral code. Without that, it is no longer martial arts. Just like without religious conviction and true scripture, Christianity is not Christianity anymore. It is a government a government twist. It's the same thing with martial arts. Without the accompanying moral code being maintained and preserved, it's no longer that martial art. It's now a government, media, corporate fucking twist. And a trap for anyone who might seek honor. They get misled. Just like Masonry, and the churches they control. Anyone who seeks God is misled by Masons. Anyone who seeks honor in martial arts is misled by corporate shills. Utter cowards, weaklings. They have no business teaching anyone anything. They don't even know the most important aspect of martial arts, and that's you do not sell out to the oppressor under any condition.
I think you're a really good example of people should be following you. That's why I don't understand.
It's mad. It's madness. We live in this place, there's no respect.
But it's constant sabotage, isn't it, that they're trying to impose. And the fact that there's all these people who are influenced by what they perceive to be social norms, and they're not willing to have an open mind and respect.
Yeah. And, it's painful for somebody who takes religion seriously, takes martial arts seriously, someone like me, to where I'm trying to team up with everybody with honor and religion who's a nonconformist, and it's like, I shouldn't even have to do that. I should be able to just stick to my own religion, but there's so few people who call themselves Christians who are actually Christians. There's so few people who call themselves honorable who are actually honorable. There's so few people who are actually, call themselves martial artists who are actually martial artists. They have no idea what it even means. Every day I have morons who don't even know what the word means, trying to tell me my challenge isn't fair. How the fuck are you going to tell me it isn't fair? You don't even know what it means to be a martial artist. You see what I'm saying? How the fuck are you going to say that?
No, I completely agree. I think they're just intimidated by the fact that you're so skilled, and they can't acknowledge it because they've got a misconception of what they believe to be martial artists or what they expect.
Yep.
So they've seen your videos. They just made judgments based on very limited information. It's so uncalled for.
Yes. And, let me just say this. I've been recording. I don't know if you know. Did you know?
No.
I noticed you do better when you don't know you're being recorded. But anyway, we got probably like an hour plus. Anyway, I was going to end by saying this. when you insist on morality, those who have built their careers and their lives, those who live a lifestyle, that is basically the result of an immoral philosophy, are the most threatened. They say, no, 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 don't start talking about morality. No, we're melting, we're melting, They know that when you compare their pathetic, immoral, butt-stuffing philosophy to true sacred morality, they come up very, very short. They come up pitifully short. There's no comparison. Here's the greatest martial artist in American history, a man of God that had all their people from their philosophies, hiding. The whole country that adhered to their philosophies, unable to beat me. Unable to even make an example of someone who's done anything more honorable than I have. They're the ones who are mentally ill. They're the ones who are unhealthy mentally. They're the ones who lack the proper mental conditioning. I had this whole country hiding like little bitches, whining like little baby girls, sniveling, whimpering, pitiful, frantic, anxious, pansy-ass pussies. Saying, it's not fair. What happened?
I even that you've got transferable skills. I've seen that. Many different areas. You're a skilled martial artist, actually compatible at every level. Streetwise, book-wise, any way you look at it. And I just don't understand why people do, because you talk about psychiatry, you're really, really honest, really open about what's happened in your life. And people need to acknowledge that. And that kind of honesty should be valued.
And people take good men and their sacrifices for granted, and they roll with the crowd. It will never fail. That's what America is. America is a nation of groupies and groupthink. They don't value things that are truly precious. Instead, they value stupid shit like, gold and diamonds, things they dig up from the dirt. This is just you may as well start valuing rocks and dirt. What is the importance of it? In fact, diamonds quite often are referred to as stones and rocks and things of this nature, right? I mean, it is so stupid what we see going on. It is so...
We live in a material world where people just can't see spirituality beyond materialism.
Yeah, and as a result, people are shallow as hell and they're evil as hell. Like when you really look at it, it is evil. When you start behaving the way the devil wants you to, you are evil. Make no mistake. There's no way around that.
People who are, who just speak a lot of nonsense, no idea how to respect others. They don't respect you. I think you have so many skills. I think you're a highly honourable person.
When you talk about... Go ahead.
I was just going to say that you'd be a huge positive influence on the young generation.
Yeah, and I was just thinking...
There needs to be somebody who rises above everybody else to actually get this message out.
Yeah, and, one thing I say all the time is that I'm probably the last chance. I'm not the savior of man or something, but I'm probably the last logical chance that humanity has against this thing. When you look at...
but I think that's what people sort of get lost in. They believe that you think you're some sort of prophet, or, you think you're a superhero or something. This isn't about that. This is about the fact that you've dedicated your life doing the right thing for God. You've dedicated your life to practicing martial arts, to give you discipline, educate yourself. You have a computer software engineering degree. You have your videos, which is a great creative platform, which, I don't know anybody who's got as many videos as you. I don't know anybody who's as dedicated to his viewers and to his audience to get a message out. I mean, you're not getting paid for this. People should realize that this person is doing it for the goodness of his art, and he's not doing it for any kind of intrinsic value. You're not gaining anything out of this.
Yes.
Out to talk to people and share your knowledge and your insight, and yet you've got people who just absolutely disrespectful, no honor, no understanding, ones who should be named and shamed. They think that, oh yeah, we who shout loudest are the greatest because look at our crowd, we've got a massive crowd following us. This isn't about that. The biggest leaders in the world have the least people following them.
Yes, and these people, you know, they say stupid shit like, oh, no one knows who you are, and shit that doesn't mean anything, you know?
It's insignificant. Those are the things that they have to rely on to try to sort of break you. But the thing is, it hasn't. It makes you stronger.
Now,
it's making you stronger.
What I was saying earlier about being the last chance for humanity is that you look at the trajectory of technology and oppression. You look at the decline of morality. You know, who's going to do what I've done and who's going to be as talented as I am? It's one thing to be an Edward Snowden, okay? That is pretty rare. If he is sincere and legit, he's pretty rare. Regardless, he gave us valuable information, and I have a certain respect for him. But he's just an Edward Snowden. He's just a sniveling white geek compared to me. I'm the top martial artist in American history, dedicating my life to sacred morality and the truth. When I am wasted, and they do not, you know, fall behind me and help me, you know, take my rightful place, right? When they do not do that, make no mistake, they will have wasted the last chance for humanity. And when shit hits the fan, I want everyone to remember the name Chukwu Emeka, the guy that could have turned the tables on the New World Order. But all you conformist, cowardly, materialistic, shallow, evil, lying, malicious, conformist ninnies wasted this priceless opportunity. You had cowards tell me, change your stance on gays, change your stance on psychiatry. I will not. You reap what you sow, and your complicity with evil is what you have sown. All your political movements, whether you reap it on this life and the next, or just in the afterlife, you will reap it. You've made your bed, you sniveling dogs. Now lay in it. Thanks for the interview.
Thank you.